Alright guys, I stopped the video right here to show you a little something before we get into it. This is the part number for the O-ring rebuild kit for the injectors. And you will need that. If you're going to swap the injectors, you don't want to have any leaks. Let me get this off of here. Put this aside. Alright, we're going to clean this up a little bit. And what you want to do is have your injector that's getting ready to go in cleaned, re-O-ringed, and ready to go. Because as soon as you pull the other injector out, you're going to end up, I'm sorry for the wind, you're going to end up with oil leaking in the cylinder, which we already have the glow plugs out, so we'll burp it one more time. But it's very, very important that you either burp that through the glow plug hole with the glow plug removed by spinning it over. If you don't want to make a mess, put your valve cover back on or put a towel over it. Another option would be to take a little like a brake bleeder vacuum hose and suck out the cylinder beforehand, and then you can turn the motor over by hand or bump it with the key off a few times, just bumping it to make sure that you get all that oil purged out of the cylinder. So we have our O-ring rebuild kit right here, and we have our injector. It's real critical whenever you take these out that you make sure that this copper washer stayed on here, or you need to get it out of the cup, because if you end up leaving it in there and you end up double washering this, it's going to leak. So we're going to work on these O-rings right here. Alright, I'm going to clean that up, get all that old junk oil out of there and any other trash. Alright, there's our pink. Now at the top you have two. You have a flat and a round O-ring and a metal ring. So the lower one, when you get these out, I don't know where, oh, here's my orange one. It's a good idea to keep all of these in the order that they came out of, and it'll help you keep track of what you need to do to put in. You don't want to screw the pooch on a job like this. Alright, this is our round O-ring. It doesn't appear to want to come off, but he's coming off anyway. Alright. So that's that one. Then we have the square, I guess you'd call it an O-ring, square rubber ring. I'll get it. And then this metal ring, and you just take them one at a time and walk them off the end. Okay, now that's all stripped. We clean it up real good. What I'm doing is I had a 7.3 with a bad cylinder and supposedly fairly new injectors. So we're going to rob injector, want this injector to change out the one that we think is causing trouble with the fuel leak. And let's see if I can get this copper popping off. getting stuck with all of the carbon buildup and whatnot on the tip here, but we got to get her off and change it. All right. Let me get a little cleaner to clean that up, and we'll go back on with our O-rings. Our snap, our little split ring here goes on first. Let me stand this up. And just take your time. Lock it up. Then our square O-ring. Put a little love on it. Can't ever have too much lubrication. Take your time, get them all seated on here. Slide him and the ring down, well, up but down, depending on which way you're looking at it. Alright, we got this one lubed up. Alright, just check it out. Make sure it's good and lubed and everything is in the proper order. We got our big pink one. What these O-rings are doing is splitting up the different chambers on these injectors. This one looks like it's going to be a little tough, but we're going to get him in there. Clean my fingers. Lord, that thing doesn't want to get in the groove. There we go. Alright. Whoop. Don't forget the lubrication. So these, what it is that in the cups, in the head, this side, this from here down is sitting in what they call the injector cups, and the tip sealed by this brass is, let me get this rascal on there. The tip sticks through into the cylinder, of course. I'm gonna have to use a little socket to get on there, but let me finish my explanation. So we got, this area is actually sitting in coolant. This area here is sitting in, I don't remember, this is probably the fuel and this is the oil. There's a YouTuber, Stephen Cox, works on a lot of these Fords, and he has a very actual cutaway of a head and shows you how all of this lays out. So hit his channel up, give him a like and a subscribe, Stephen Cox, and I think you'll like him. He's got some pretty good information on his channel. Let me get a socket together and jumped on before I got the camera on. Set this brass washer up here. This is a 10 millimeter. Center it on there and just give it a little push, and she should sit on there with enough bite to stay on there. You want to make sure it does, because when you drop it in the hole, you need everything to stay in its proper location. So the key to this, again, is to have this one lubed up and ready to go in the hole, and that way when we pull the other one out, we can just yank it out, stab this one in, and the shorter amount of time to do all of that keeps you from having a bunch of oil leaking in the cylinder. And the less oil that you get that leaks in it, the less mess you're gonna have to, and headache you're gonna have to get it out. So we're gonna get this all lubed up here and ready to go, and we're gonna pull that other injector out and work this one in. All right, so here we are back here underneath the gasket so we don't mess it up, holding our lock ring up. And we're gonna get this one out. And set it right there. And we're gonna get this one. And we're gonna go right back in the hole. Once you get the top bolt section to get underneath the head, you can get a stubby, I believe it's a 5/8, and hook it on to the bottom of the port and help walk this thing down. There we go. And we're going to give her a couple of little taps with a mallet just to make sure she's seated all the way. I don't want to get crazy with it. That 5/8 wrench trick is nice in order to pull this thing down easily. All right, we're going to put our 8mm back in. Now we're not undoing or moving the upper bolt on the top by the plug. It doesn't need to be. So if you're just doing the bottom one, then you can just run that bottom one up and snug it good, and that'll have that injector seated. I know I'm blocking the way, but I don't really have any good way to get a good camera angle on this today. I swapped these out. I like to keep them together with the injectors. No particular reason other than it makes sense to me. Keep everything that was working together. Put our little diverter, that's the word I was looking for earlier, and this just points the oil that splashes out of the injector back down into the valley. When you run these things with no valve covers on, and I'll show you when we get this one going, you can really tell if anything weird is going on with your injectors, because if they're shooting out oil in all kind of weird directions, then something else may need to be addressed. So what we're going to do is, I got to get this back on. We're going to put this right here. We're going to plug in all of our injectors again and lock the little safety wires. Now remember, guys, on these 7.3s is another side note that I just wanted to spit out. You have 7 injectors that always match. They're either going to be AB or AD, Apple Boy or Apple Dog. The number 8 injector, which is closest to the steering column, is the Cajun injector. A friend of mine calls them that because A is a term that the Cajuns use in South Louisiana. So the Cajun injector for number 8 is always an AE. So you're either going to have 7 Apple Boy injectors and an AE injector, or you're going to have 7 Apple Dog injectors with an AE injector. The only difference between them is, I believe if I remember correctly, the ADs were factory 250 horse injectors and the ABs are 235. You may want to double check me on that, but I think that's it. Let me get this little clip back on and we'll burp this motor one more time, make sure that we got that oil out of there before we put our glow plugs in and get it ready for a test run.